Welcome, guys. This chapter is dealing with the course comparison. What are the courses available and how are we playing against them? So, let's start with two nights. There are no courses that we could found on d3. We are going queen c7 in this case. Two knights is quite a popular line in general. White tries to play very safe and solid. We take, we play knight f6. This works very nicely with our setup because in the classical Caro-Kann, where white plays d4 instead of knight f3, there also we are playing knight f6, which basically means this setup we get in either way. And you will hear me saying in the classical and also throughout the chapter of classical, in this course as well as throughout the chapter of classical, that the biggest advantage of this structure is my king is safer than opponent's king. More on this later. The main move is queen e2. And this was suggested by Christoph Selecki and also in Adiban's course. So in order to understand queen e2, basically white wants to get his queen on e4. Of course, we don't want to play knight d7 and get checkmated. And if we want to trade queens, white goes back to h4 and next bishop c4 happens. It's not that this is not playable. The line goes in this manner. Because if we can trade queens, we are completely fine. But white has this move, and it is debatable. White gets this open file. White claims some advantage here. We are not playing this. Of course, it's possible to play knight d7, knight f6. What we did not like was some such ideas. Again, this is possible to play in this manner. We have a very interesting move, which first of all is not recommended in Christoph's course. Knight a6. There are only 500 games compared to 5,000 games of knight e4. So once we play knight a6, okay, we need to understand what is the idea. Now, if white takes, of course, we have to take gf6. There is no other option. But after something like d4, the idea is h5. We want to play h4. You cannot stop it. Even after g3, I can play h4 because this pawn is hanging. And no matter what white plays, we throw h4, we put the queen here, we put the bishop here, we will eventually go for long castle. And we sort of claim that how is white going to castle? Where is his king going to be? Are you going to castle on the short side? That doesn't look good. Do you want to castle on queen side? But I put my bishop on f5, queen on d5. So I'm creating some counterplay. Of course, more on this in the main chapter. Adiban in his course recommends d4, which makes a lot of sense. But Adiban only analyzed queen d5. But then we get sort of tricked because now, first of all, this is possible. And secondly, I did not get my h5, h4 on time. But we are not doing this. Adiban does not consider knight e4, which we want to take. And simple, now play queen d5. What is the argument? The inclusion of knight a6, d4 ensures that there is no more bishop c4. In this case, not only there is no more bishop c4, but after knight b4, we just almost win the game. So white will have to take. When we take, we don't have to bother here. We always have this. We don't have to bother knight e5 because the nature of position is closed. You can come back. Then either you eventually kick back the knight or you trade everything and you get a very decent position. Like it's equal, but black has absolutely no problem. If white breaks our structure, we keep pair of bishops. And one nice way to develop would be get the king here, play g5, f5, then think maybe you want bishop f5, e6, maybe you want direct e6 and get the bishop out here. It's a dynamically balanced position and black has no problem. Even in terms of score, black is doing better. So that's for two knights. Now d4, we go d5. It's not a coincidence that there are almost like we could not find a course in classical. I am making a e4 course. I just published the Sicilian one, and also in Caro-Kann, I'm not suggesting this because Not only bishop f5 is an issue, but I think those who are trying this from white side, one of the biggest issue is knight f6. It's so simple to play. Since there are no cores, and this chapter deals with course comparison, we don't have to get into big detail here. You will find this in main chapters. Just one thing I will keep repeating: the main argument of having this position is we will go for short castle, absolutely certain, and claim that our king is safer than its counterpart, whether you go for long castle where we start some kingside attack, or as it happens typically something like this. So this is one of the main position where we claim if you go for short castle, I will have some target on the king side. If you go for the long castle, then I will, this extra pawn on queen side doesn't mean, because I am going to target on this sides. So that's basically the argument. More on this you can find in the main chapter. Advance. Most of the course is recommending advance. Also, there are no one is really recommending this kind of thing. There might be some, but yeah, the majority of the courses are going for advance. So in the main chapter, you will see bishop d3, c4, all these lines. e5. What do? We play c5. We delay bishop f5, but we keep this option. Next, we want to play knight c3. Now, interestingly, all three moves, major moves, dc5, c3, and knight f3, are recommended in some courses. Let's take one by one. c3, Anish recommends this. We play knight c6. Bishop e2, delaying knight f3 because stopping bishop g4. After bishop e2, the easiest is bishop f5. But if you want to keep the game more complicated and avoid some force theory, a6 is a nice one. This is an alternate suggestion. After knight f3, bishop g4. So basically, after bishop e2, white will play knight f3. White is just waiting for black to find a useful move. We don't find any useful move on the king side, so this is an alternate solution. Knight f3, we play bishop g4, then we develop. And here, Anish is not recommending this move, bishop h5. In order to understand bishop h5, we have to also address the classical problem, which he will hear me saying number of times in the main chapters, that black's main problem is for these two pieces, there is only one square. So three ways of developing, I keep on repeating this. One is get the bishop out somewhere. In this case it is not possible. Then develop the knight. Second, get the knight out first, then get the bishop out. That's the most common one. Third, play h5, knight h6, then develop the bishop. Every time our main argument is your pawn structure is bad. You might have more space. You might try to create some kingside attack, which we are debating that you're not ready for it. My bishop is out. But your pawn structure is bad because this is a weak pawn. This is not. So I have a target. Now, knight e7, knight g6 plan is more popular, not in c3 variation, but when white is taking knight d4, because we are targeting the e5 pawn. Here, the knight wants to go to f5. So the move we are recommending is bishop h5. Preparing some knight h6, knight f5. In some cases, knight e7, knight f5. Now, since I did not commit cd4, you will see also in the course after knight b3, I have additional move of c4 and closing the queen side, which means then my king is also very safe on d7 in some cases. So bishop h5 is a move that Anish is not recommending, but this is our alternate solution. The main suggestion is play bishop f5, develop pieces. And once again, we have our classical problem. Where do we want this knight? So let's rule out. We don't have bishop c5, knight e7. h5, knight h6, knight f5, or knight e7, knight f5. This we can deal later. But let's rule out knight g6. This we don't want. Pawn is protected. Bishop g6, that's why. So here Anish recommends bishop e3. We want to play this, but then white is already threatening dc5. So takes. If here you just get your knight here, once again give the same argument. I have a target. You don't have any kingside attack. So black is fine. So Anish recommends knight d4. We of course take the pawn, gives check, come back. Now he has to open up the position. All we have to do is develop knight c3. Now the thing is, we want to develop, but if we develop here, there could be some knight b5. And after bishop e7, white has this unusual move, queen b5, and creating some pressure and getting back the pawn. So this move is super important. Anish also gives the same. Play a6, protect this. White takes, we take. Now white has to take back the pawn. And here Anish recommends only short castle. But we can simply take the pawn, take the knight. He takes. Short castle. This is analyzed pretty deeply in the course. If you take on b7, there could be some issues on... actually, you lose the piece, I think. This and already piece is gone. Rook b8, rook b6. So if you turn on the computer, the only way to fight for any advantage, computer will say initially knight e3, but you will see after like 2 moves, rook fd1 or rook ed1. Like, let me just throw some variation here, some knight e5 and some form of piece to d3, and everything fizzles out. So that's basically that's how we are playing in Anish system. It just fizzles out to opposite color bishop. Like, there is literally nothing else. Like, he has to play knight e6 and then this knight e5. This rook f7 lines, it just gets to zeros, like completely. There's not even slightest way of pressing. So that's for c3. Now let's move to knight f3, which is recommended by Gaveski and Setu. So we take. Now Gaveski recommends queen d4, knight c6, and queen f4. White is saying he has pressure, and we are unable to develop. And we agree this. I will also say in the main chapter, yes, we are strategically worse, but our compensation comes in these two forms, that we can target the e5 pawn, we can target the f4 queen. Now we are recommending 2 options, one very dynamic, amazing creative line, and one very solid. Surprisingly, both are not covered in Gaveski's course. He only gives e6. So our main recommendation is g6. Want to attack here, some move like this could simply result in loss of piece. Main variation goes with knight c3 when we play d4, and with bishop e4 or without, in any case, when such move happens, we attack. And white can only take care of d4 pawn or e5 pawn. That is, if he plays queen g3, I'll kick the knight. You cannot take here. And if you play queen g4, I take, and now I'm able to play a6, because wherever you go, I can take on e5 and take back it with check. More on this in the main chapter, but basically g6 itself is not covered, which is the second most popular move right now. But there is another very interesting move, f6. Drev bet Grischuk in 2024, Yagis bet Aditya in 2024. It's a fascinating move with the idea, one classical idea of taking, playing knight f6, e6, bishop d6, short castle, creating play against these two. A standard move like bishop d3, for example, we go knight h6, and we hit on the main backbone of white's advantage, that is e5 pawn. Already, actually, black can take over because the e5 pawn is gone. In the game, Aditya played queen g3, and a shocking move, which is also, it's completely crazy that black plays g5, and black is already preferable. Black wants to play knight h6, play for knight f5, or even sometimes knight f7, forcing ef6, then bishop goes to d6, or even h5, h4. You will see in the main file sometimes white has to put the queen on h1 after castling, and that is a disaster. So in the game, Aditya played bishop b5, knight h6, and after a couple of moves, black was better and eventually won the game. The thing is, both f6 and g6 are not covered in the course, and both are equally playable. Knight d4, suggested by Setu. We play knight c6, takes, white develops. Here, same story. How do we develop the pieces? 2, 3 ways. One is this. Most natural would be knight e7, and this time usually knight on g6, and then you get here and you castle. Again and again you give same argument that the pawn is weak, and we have more pawns in center. So eventually after, when we castle, we will play f6 and we open up the position, we keep more domination. So that's the basic argument. We want to play a5 bishop a6, but we don't want to start with a5 bishop a6 because I want white to pay some attention here. Get your knight somewhere here. Then I will switch plan. I don't want to start in the queen side when, if I do so immediately, then after trade, maybe your knight will come here. So first we want to deal with this pawn. Say there are many moves, knight d2, rook e1. Setu recommends bishop e3. We attack the pawn. So he protects. And at this point, again, our argument is similar, that we will play c5. We will eventually eliminate this bishop or get this diagonal and create counterplay. Setu gives the following line. Short castle here, a5, with the idea of bishop a6. Here Setu's recommendation is queen e2, stopping bishop a6, and somehow the most human move was not considered, and it's also the strongest move. We play queen b6, we just renew the threat. h4, bishop a6, and eliminating this bishop and claiming you don't have anything on the queen side. Remember that after h5, we are not going to h8, we are going to h4. And if you play some g3, I can always move by rook. Then h5, I come back to f8, and king side, it's very difficult to open up the position. So that's the improvement over Setu's course, that is queen b6. Finally, Wesley in his course recommends dc5. We play e6. One thing to keep in mind, we never allow white to take dc5 with the knight on c6. That is the reason when knight f3, we are not playing knight c6 because of this. So there we take on d4. So in this case, we keep the option of knight d7. So Wesley gives a3 and queen g4. And now knight f3, this is really bad. And of course, Wesley also does not recommend this. This is a total disaster. So knight f3. Now we short castle, bishop d3. So white is creating tremendous attack on king side. It might look scary, this is threatened. But it is actually black who will start the counter now, f5. If white does not take, then there is no attack. So white takes, we take. e5 is threatened, so white plays queen h5, h6. Now, at first glance, it might look, wait, what am I doing? My king side is weak and position is opened up. But if we look at the number of pieces, the pawns, white is actually just playing with these three. Okay, maybe this one, but no threats. I'll just take it. Remember, there is a knight here. I can always come back. And also, don't forget there are ideas on f2, so you cannot really move the knight. So how is white playing? g4 also you cannot go. So Wesley recommends short castle. We want to play e5. We are saying I'll come here, I'll play knight d7 and play e5. So let's say this. Wesley gives bishop d2. Now there are two options. I would insist that you go for the main suggestion, but there is this alternate suggestion of knight c6, and you can play e5 with the idea after knight e5 through d4. So like white has to take, we take, and we're playing for some compensation here. Good compensation. Machine says bishop b4 is the way to go. And some lines here. This is a long line, just to say that Wesley also gives this line all the way until here, and he is not giving d3, but it's not so important. So we don't need any of this. Actually, it is not needed at all. So you can as well forget this. Knight d7. This was a novelty that I had for I don't know already how many years. The first time I saw was when Arvind and Karthikeyan came to my house somewhere in maybe 2018 or something. and bishop c3, and this beautiful move. No need to play e5, no need to move the rook, just play move queen f8. So first of all, you prepare g6. This is protected. Maybe you can include e5 in some variation so that after taking twice, you have g6. And this one, we don't bother at all. Queen has to move, throw e5, e4, and fantastic position. So queen f8 is a really star move, and black is doing totally fine. This was not covered by Wesley, and that's already good enough. That is all for this chapter. We covered different courses and highlighted where exactly we are making improvements, and also what a generic overview. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and let's get to the main chapters. Bye-bye.